So before we get started with today's video, I just wanted to give a big thank you to my newest patron on Patreon, Christian Holdo. Christian, thank you so much for donating. I really appreciate it. And now on to today's video. Hey everybody, this is Rune here, and today I want to talk about a subject that I just don't feel is discussed enough in the writing community. This has to do with a question that I've been seeing a lot, usually from, aspiring writers, people new to writing and publishing, and they'll ask, where is a good place for them to publish their writing online for free? Now, like I said, it's a pretty common question, and it's a good question especially if you're getting into self-publishing. And usually when someone asks this question, they'll get answers like, oh, well, there's KDP, or Lulu, or Ingram Spark. And those are all really good options worth investing your time in. But, if you guys read the title of this video, you guys know what we're getting into. So, the website I want to talk about today is Wattpad. Now, if you guys don't know what Wattpad is, I would assume it's clear from the context since we're already talking about publishing websites, but it is a publishing platform. Free to use, which is why I think a lot of people flock to it. I am not going to include a screenshot of it here because I don't want to feel like I'm promoting it. But if you saw my first review video covering a story from Webtoon, I included some screenshots of Webtoon there, and Wattpad looks pretty similar. So if you saw that video, you'll have an idea of what Wattpad looks like. Otherwise, you could just Google it if you want to. I don't know. I'm just not including a screenshot of it here today. But anyway, like I said, it's a publishing platform, and it is commonly suggested to new writers. And now, the reason I have an issue with this, well, I have a couple reasons why I don't like Wattpad, but today I really want to focus on the main reason, which is plagiarism. Wattpad has a huge plagiarism issue, as stories will get uploaded on there, and they may be taken by other Wattpad users, or people from other locations will come to Wattpad because, well, they know that the Wattpad admins won't police their site. So they'll come from other locations to Wattpad to look for content to steal. It's a very common issue, and I have 2 counts of evidence to prove that Wattpad admins do not care about their users and they do not care about plagiarism. The first being, well, Pyra, she's in a writing group on Facebook. It's a pretty big writing group called Fiction Writing. They have a rule where Wattpad cannot be discussed at all in any way or form at all. No discussing Wattpad. And the reason for that being that a long time ago, before even Pyra was in the group, they had an author who she was recommended to go use Wattpad. She was asking for websites where she could publish, just like the example we gave earlier, like people do. And she was suggested to use Wattpad. And, well, you guys probably know where the story is going. Her story was taken and someone else claimed it as their own and tried to use it for profit. And this author tried her best, and even the admins of Fiction Writing tried their best to talk to the admins of Wattpad to get her story back, to try to fix this issue, and the Wattpad admins did nothing. They didn't do anything. They wouldn't help. And I think there have been times before where the admins do help, but it takes like a Black Lives Matter sized protest to get them to do anything. And that's if they've done something. And I think I've heard stories of them helping a few times, but I'm not for sure on that, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, they wouldn't do anything. So now, as a result, the group was not allowed to talk about Wattpad because we don't want other authors to fall into the same situation. It's not fair. Like, if you when it comes to writing, you put days, weeks, months, and years into your story, just hours and hours of hard work. There's writing, there's outlining, there's the editing process, there's making sure it's all okay. And only for you to put it up and someone else claims it as their own. Nobody wants that. Nobody does. Now, Wattpad, if you don't care about your story being taken, then okay, feel free to use Wattpad. Most of the stuff on there is just fan fiction anyway. But I just wanted to address this issue for people who they've been suggested to publish their like official stuff on there. Yeah, don't. Oh, and before I get carried away, I know I said I had 2 counts of evidence, so I want to go ahead and cover the other one. The other count of evidence that we have for Wattpad not doing anything is that Pyra actually used to use Wattpad. Like a long time ago, it was what got her into writing, and she did not know about the plagiarism issues. She was like suggested by a friend, you know, hey, go use this website, and she, you know, posted her preteen crappy fan fiction like everyone else was doing. Yeah, I don't know, that's just what teens publish typically. But she remembers that one day there were people making a fuss in a certain thread, because it's also a social media kind of board where you can talk to other people. So there was a thread talking about this other website, and Pyra checked out the link. It was a website in Vietnamese. Yeah, so you couldn't understand anything on there. But there were Wattpad stories on there. And people were talking about it because it seemed the moment you uploaded anything, like a new chapter to your story, because Wattpad has this, like you can write the stories on there too, and you just put them up. And yeah, every chapter of any story was on there, and Pyra checked for hers. Yep, chapters she'd written that day and the few days prior, there they were on this Vietnamese website. And people, they were begging for the admins to do something, because they cared about these stories. Even if it was fan fiction, they cared about this fan fiction too, and original stories that they worked so hard to create. And the admins, the moderators, were telling them to calm down and to stop making a fuss about it. They didn't do anything as far as I'm aware, and that website probably still up to this day. I'm not going to go searching for it, because it sounds like a good way to try to, you know, get a virus on your computer. But yeah, the Pyra story was also being plagiarized, and we're just lucky that it was a fan fiction and not something original, or she would have been devastated. Because this was something she was really scared of when she just got into writing. I think plagiarism is an issue a lot of people are scared of when they just start out. And well, even when you haven't just started out, maybe you've been writing for a few years, plagiarism is scary. And that's why I wanted to like try to let people know, like, if you don't care about your story being taken, like I said, feel free to use whatever site you want if you just don't care. But this warning is for the people who will care. This is for the people who, yeah, they put tons of effort into the story. They don't want it taken. Well, whenever new authors are suggested to go use Wattpad, they're not really told of the plagiarism issues, so they won't know. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, to try to get the word out there a little more. Now, I did mention before that I actually had more than one issue with using Wattpad. Plagiarism is the main reason I wanted to make this video, but the other reason is just, it just doesn't feel very professional. It's like I said, it's like a social media platform, and there's mostly fan fiction on there. There's some original stories, but it's mostly fan fiction, and good luck finding anything that's actually been edited. That's the other part. It's most stories on there. I'm sorry I keep stuttering, you know me, I have trouble speaking half the time. But most stories on there, they're from people who don't really know the writing process that well. They'll just write whatever. They don't know punctuation, they don't know proper like spacing with the paragraphs and stuff, and they throw it on there. They don't edit it. And that's how Pyra's story was too. So, I'm not saying Pyra's story was some I don't know, holy savior of Golden Glow stories, but it just now that she knows better and she actually took the time to learn, like that's the difference. She took the time to learn and figure this out. A lot of authors don't do that. So even if you have like a really good, well-written, edited story, if you put it on there, I mean, you could probably guess how it's going to look next to a bunch of, like, oh, I'm gonna ship, like, I don't know, Zelda with One Direction fanfiction. It's pretty much the extent of what Wattpad is. So, yeah, that's more just a personal issue, I guess, but it just does feel very unprofessional. almost said it does feel professional. Blah, that's not what I meant to say. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you to everybody who has watched to the end and heard me out. Like I said, I really just wanted to talk about this because I see so many people supporting Wattpad and not enough people talk about the plagiarism issues. So hopefully, if we get the word out there, we can save some more writers from meeting this fate of having their story stolen. And maybe one day Wattpad admins will actually, pick their crap up off the floor and actually work on their platform. Maybe they'll fix stuff if we actually talk about it enough. Who knows? Although I think at this rate, I think it'd be way more worth it just to invest in a different platform than hope Wattpad will fix theirs. But who knows? We'll just see what happens. But I just wanted to try to prevent other authors from falling into this trap. So hopefully my video will help at least one person. But anyway, thank you again everyone for watching. I will have some more writing videos out soon. I just really wanted to talk about this today. And yeah, I will see you guys all in the next video. So bye bye.